seated. Welcome. You are an absolutely beautiful sight on this beautiful day. Of course, we're here to celebrate Women's History Month and our Georgia Women of Achievement, and I am going to do what I understand performers are not supposed to do, and that's ask for an apology, or at least ask you to bear with me, because you can hear what's going on. I've got cough drops on my seat. I have been to the doctor this week, and in fact, I'm not contagious. I am not contagious. And in fact, Lynn Hunt, of course, she was feeling under the weather. She came and she left. I am not contagious. I keep repeating that. But I just want you to know we've been doing a lot of praying for healthy beings today and safe travels, and we're just so glad to see you. I'm Carla Heath Sands, and I'd like to begin with this. Do what you can to care about other people, and you will make this world a better place. The simple yet profound words of our visionary founder, Rosalind Carter, echo through this chapel as a challenge, a high calling to all of us to do good in this world. Good morning to all of you, and welcome to the 34th Annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony of the Georgia Women of Achievement. This ceremony is held intentionally during Women's History Month to acknowledge these tenacious and inspiring women and honor them for all that they've done to lead our communities and our state through positive change. Georgia Women of Achievement has three primary goals. We aim to honor influential women of the past, inspire today's citizens to utilize their positions to strengthen our world, and to educate young people to utilize their talents and build a stronger and better tomorrow. Sir Isaac Newton said that if I had seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. By standing on the shoulders of these Hall of Fame inductees, we are all women and men better positioned to face the future with great hope for all that is to come. Now, speaking of giants, I am incredibly honored and humbled to serve this organization and to have followed in the footsteps of those who have shepherded Georgia Women of Achievement from the genesis of Rosalind Carter's vision to make it what it is today. And I know that there are several former founding members and presidents of GWA in attendance today, and I would like for you to stand and let us recognize and thank you. Please stand. Wherever you are, thank you so much. Their shoulders have been strong in support of this organization, and we will continue to pay it forward in their honor and memory. Now, I would also like to recognize three people who have worked tirelessly, and when I say tirelessly, I mean tirelessly, behind the scenes to support this event and this organization. First, Mercer University intern Katie Volz, who has created all of the marketing materials for this event. Katie, where are you? There you are. Thank you. Thank you. Also, Hannah Doan, Senior Director of Auxiliary Services for Wesleyan. Hannah, oh, there, just wave. There she is in the back. And Deborah Robbins, Executive Assistant at Mercer University. I saw her. There she is. She's waving. There you are. Thank you all very, very much. You know, we're so very thankful for each of these amazing individuals supporting our Georgia Women of Achievement mission. Because of our founding trustees, dedicated volunteers, and current partners, the Georgia Women of Achievement continues its legacy. We have big dreams. We want every young person in this state and beyond to know about the amazing women who persevered to impact society and make this beautiful world an even better place. We shall continue to move forward with great purpose to share these powerful stories and inspire the next generation of leaders. Now, we obviously could not do that without the support of our sponsors, whom you will find listed in your programs. Many of you are in attendance today, and we want to recognize those sponsors. Please stand. Let us offer gratitude for giving and supporting our powerful mission. Sponsors, please stand if you're here. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. And we are so grateful to be here in this beautiful Pierce Chapel of Wesleyan College, and I would like to express our sincere appreciation once again to Wesleyan for hosting this event. Now, I am honored to introduce our immediate past president, Dr. Penny L. Elkins, who will give tribute to all of our incredible past presidents. And I'll just share this. Our last words before coming in, processing, I said to her, "This is your fault." With love, of course. Please, Dr. Penny L. Elkins.
Thank you. Thank you, President Heath Sands. I am so thrilled to be here with you today, certainly in honor of those past presidents who have been recognized briefly, but I want to do just a bit more. Before I do that, of course I'm going off script, so I do want to recognize our current president. Carla Heath Sands joined our Georgia Women of Achievement Board just a few short years ago, and we immediately coalesced around her and her vision and her integrity and certainly her belief in the mission of this organization. So help me applaud Carla for her taking those reins. Yes. It is a beautiful day, isn't it? Like it's going to be, what, 86 today? And then tomorrow, 60, I don't know. But anyway, we are blessed that we have such a glorious day today. And it reminded me, of course, Carla has been using the metaphor of standing on the shoulders of giants, and my goodness, there are giants. But as I was driving up today, I thought about the word that we've all heard before, about we are basking under the shade of those trees that we did not plant. Thank you. Just think about that for a minute. And even as I'm saying that, I'm looking out of these beautiful windows in this glorious chapel on Wesleyan's campus. The commitment of Georgia Women of Achievement, and certainly our past presidents, is to do just that. To plant those seeds, to sow those seeds, such that today, as we are today, we can be a healthy and strong organization, amplifying the voices of those women in the past. My challenge to each one of us, all of you, us, is that we think in our minds, are we sowing seeds today? What seeds are we sowing today? Let me clarify that. We're sowing them, whether intentionally or not. How are we amplifying those around us, the stories of those current people around us? Students, where are you? Let me see you. Just wave. Yes, there you are. Hey, hi. I saw you all as you were coming in. You know, what we're doing today, I want you to know, is for you. What we are doing is to say, you matter, this organization matters, the people who have led us in the past matter. And therefore, we will continue to sow those seeds of good around us, such that there will be many, many trees. There will be forests of goodness around us. I want to recognize some of our leaders of the past. Carla, our current president, actually asked as a group for them to stand. But I asked if we could do this individually for a very powerful purpose, and that is each person matters. Families and friends of these honorees, your loved one, mattered. And so every single president who has served in this organization, and I have to say, even as I'm saying that out loud, I'm thinking of those past presidents who are not with us. Eleanor Lane, for example. Abbott Massey. You talk about a lot of seed sowing, my goodness. But those people who said, you know what, I will stand, I will serve, I will take those reins and lead this forward because this mission matters. So let's talk about some of those. And hopefully, if you are present today, and even if you've already stood, will you please stand again? I'm going to go through this list fairly quickly, so y'all get up on your calisthenics here. All right, Nancy Anderson, I saw you, yes. And stand, thank you, Nancy. Yes. Ann Smith, is Ann, I did not, yes, Ann, thank you so much, thank you. I saw Ruth Bracewell. Where's Ruth? Yay, Ruth. Yes. I love this so much. What about Julia Baldwin, my precious heart? There you are. I didn't see y'all when y'all came in. Good. Elizabeth Harden. Is Elizabeth here? Ruth Knox. I know I saw Ruth. Woo-woo. There's a special significance with our former president of Wesleyan, Ruth Knox. What about Lisa White? Lisa's here. There you are. She was greeting at the door. My dear friend and colleague, Cindy Busby, to my left. She is here. Lee, where are you? Lee Goff, I just hugged your neck. There you are. I love this. We've got cheers in the audience. What about Loretta Lepore? Did we get to Loretta? Where's Loretta? No. She was my immediate predecessor. I mean, I was her successor. That's right. And then, of course, it was me, and then Carla Heath Sands. So that legacy of leadership, those people who served in the stewardship of this mission, we certainly acknowledge you. We thank you. We thank all of you individually, and we thank you for the seeds that you have sown in the lives of each one of us today. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce another president, not yet having been a president of GWA, but the time is coming, my friend. And she is my friend, my dear friend, and certainly the president of Wesleyan College, and that is Megan Blight. Megan?
Well, we're talking about history, we're talking about Women's History Month. Can we just acknowledge the first female president of Mercer University for a second? Dr. Penny Alkins. Good morning, and welcome to the 2026 Georgia Women of Achievement Induction Ceremony. I am Megan Blight, the very proud president of Wesleyan College, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to campus this morning. Wesleyan has played a leading role in the advancement of women for a very, very long time. In 1836, this institution became the first college in the world chartered to grant degrees to women. That fact is certainly part of our history, but it also reminds us that our mission still matters today. Because despite the progress that has been made, we all know there's still work to do. One statistic that I share with our students is that there's more male CEOs named John in this country than female CEOs. And when you hear that, it becomes clear pretty quickly that expanding the opportunity for women is not just history. It is still a very present responsibility. Wesleyan has been preparing women to meet this responsibility for generations. One of our alums was the first female physician in the state of Georgia. This was in the 1800s, at a time that was completely remarkable and a courageous first step. But what I love most about this story is that it's not just about the past. It's also about the women sitting in our classrooms today. the students on campus that are going to go on to become entrepreneurs, nurses, researchers, community leaders, and public servants across Middle Georgia and well beyond. They will strengthen our schools, our hospitals, businesses, and communities. Many of them will do exactly what the women we honor here today did. Quietly but powerfully change the world around them. That is one of the reasons why occasions like today matter so much. Since 1992, Georgia Women of Achievement has made sure that the stories of Georgia's remarkable women are preserved and shared so that future generations can learn from them and be inspired by them. Their accomplishments remind us that leadership can take many forms, and that lasting impact often begins with one person deciding, I'm ready to step forward and serve. But before we continue with today's program, I have the privilege of recognizing someone whose leadership has helped ensure that these stories continue to be told. My friend, Dr. Elkins, has served Georgia Women of Achievement with tremendous dedication. During her time as president, she helped strengthen this organization's work to honor the women who shared our state and to share those stories with new generations of Georgians. Dr. Elkins, your leadership reflects the very spirit of this organization, honoring the past while investing in the future. It is truly my honor today to present to you with the Georgia Women of Achievement Charter in recognition. We hid it from you because we didn't want you sneaking around. In recognition of your service and your contribution to this important mission, could you please join me? Thank you.
Clearly did not know this. Left out of my script.
Thank you for your leadership that you have given to this organization, to so many of us in this room, and for the care you have shown preserving the legacy of Georgia's extraordinary women. So today we will hear the stories of remarkable women whose lives and work help shape our communities and our state. Their paths, they were different, their talents were different, but they shared something important. They used what they had to make a difference. And for the students of Wesleyan who are watching and listening today, those stories send a powerful message. They remind that progress is built by people who care about their communities, who pursue their passions, and who are willing to lead when leadership is needed. Because every time we tell the story of a woman who has helped shape the world, we make it a little easier for the next generation to imagine doing just the same. Thank you for being here today, for supporting Georgia Women of Achievement, and for helping keep these remarkable stories alive. Welcome to Wesleyan.
Good morning to everyone. I'm Cindy Busby, and I have the privilege of leading the Georgia Women of Achievement Educational Committee. And as was mentioned earlier, education is really the crux of the organization. We can all meet every year and certainly celebrate our inductees, but how we translate that to the state, through the schools, and to our students and the next generation of women becomes really the most important mission we have. Through the founder's original intent, our educational mission began and continues to be our focus. Our charge is to seek and curate the vibrant histories of the Georgia women in all of their amazing disciplines and forms, and most importantly, today, we'll share their narratives and impact widely for appreciation and the value for current generations. The Georgia Women of Achievement Education Committee is proud to have continued this commitment through many projects benefiting the women we commemorate here today. Our important education committee work includes the ongoing development and upkeep of our website, allowing a curricula for elementary, middle, and high school social studies students to be accessible and to provide teachers with those resources directly at their fingertips. We are grateful to the many educators who helped us with those programs, particularly the Bibb County educators who helped us design and curate those for our students. We also have focused on the creation of new connections through the Georgia Department of Education professionals for alignment with the Georgia Social Studies state curriculum, especially in the areas of women's history. As was mentioned earlier, oftentimes women's history is not a focus, but is even left to the footnote of these curricula, something we did notice with the help of our educators and were able to address through the addition of these performance standards. We also participate in the annual Georgia Council on Social Studies in Athens, where we've been able to present our mission and our educational materials, but also receive feedback from social study educators around the state to help us refine what we present. This devoted quest, along with our Mercer interns and student leaders, to improve our websites, to provide these performance standards, they focus on allowing access to our world-class videos and to our archives. Lastly, we continue to plan future events to encourage all students across the state. Today, our curricula focuses mostly on middle and high school students, but our aspirations are to include also elementary school curricula with opportunities like art contests, speech contests, and opportunities to award those winners here at our annual engagement in the spring. We continue to share our mission and to pursue opportunities to educate Georgia's youth by raising awareness of all of these outstanding role models and inductees. We thank you for all of your continued support, and welcome today.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Valerie Clark, and I would like to share with you the significance of the Hall of Fame. Mrs. Rosalind Carter visited the Alabama Women's Hall of Fame for an event at Judson College in Marion. She was so taken by that event that she shared all of the information with a meeting of the Gracious Ladies of Georgia. This inspired her friends Eleanor Lane and her husband Bill to also visit the Alabama Hall of Fame, knowing that we in Georgia needed to create such an organization to remember special contributions of our women. From her address in Columbus, Mrs. Carter was invited to a luncheon right here on the Wesleyan campus. And she was invited by other go-getters, Nancy Anderson, Neva Fickling, Colleen Nunn, that's Mrs. Sam Nunn, Robert Ackerman, Frank Jones, and Valeria Murphy. This was the beginning of the challenging work to create an organization that would keep history alive for Georgians, Georgia Women of Achievement. The first GWA induction ceremony was held in 1992 and recognized Martha McChesney Berry of Berry College, Juliet Gordon Lowe of the Girl Scouts, Sarah Branham Matthews, who was a researcher and a physician who found the cause of meningitis, and Southern author Flannery O'Connor. Since then, more than 100 women have been honored from the arts and humanities, business and education, politics and government, science, health, and sports. The significance of the Hall of Fame is that it honors extraordinary women of Georgia and keeps their contributions alive for generations to come, just as you said, Dr. White. Each year, we receive nominations from individuals, families, and organizations. These people wish to honor female trailblazers as Georgia Women of Achievement. Our organization entrusts the committee, a group of independent of GWA, to recommend our inductees to the board. These individuals share their expertise and their love of history year after year with us. They represent some of our famous and finest historical institutions and approach their responsibilities to us with the utmost care and professionalism. Would the members of the Board of Selections please rise at this time? Thank you. And now, any past members, would you please join them in standing? Would you please rise if you're a past member? Well, thank you very much. Consistent with Mrs. Carter's vision, it now gives me great pleasure to invite you to hear stories of the 4 women who will be inducted today to the Georgia Women Hall of Achievement. Thank you, Lisa White, trustee for GWA, for introducing our first inductee. Lisa?
Good morning, and thank you for pausing with us today as we celebrate the achievements of our 2026 inductees. We begin with preservationist and advocate Emma Morrell Adler. It was my pleasure to have known Mrs. Adler for 30 years, and I can tell you how humble and honored she would be by this celebration today, which happens to be her 96th birthday. Please listen as we hear her story.
By the time of Emma Morrell Adler's passing in 2020, at the age of 90, her important and lasting work in historic preservation, history, and heritage education were evident around every corner in Savannah.
For all her work in heritage conservation, Emma Adler was at her heart a teacher, just like me. She taught the world how to resurrect beauty from decay. And you could often find her in classrooms teaching local history to students or at school board meetings sharing her zeal for historic properties and the stories they held, stories that tell us who we are.
Emma Morrell grew up in downtown Savannah, on the south side of Hall Street between Abercorn and Lincoln. Her grandmother lived next door. She attended the Pape School, continued her education at Westover School in Connecticut, and went on to college at Bryn Mawr in Pennsylvania. She earned degrees in French, art, and architectural history, which would directly support her advocacy for the historic city she loved. After returning to Savannah, Emma took a job as a reporter at the Savannah Morning News.
She was a very sophisticated, highly educated person. She went away to boarding school as a young woman. But I think she understood, and Lee did too, that Savannah is not a fly in amber, it's a living city. And it needed to be used as a living city, but it did need to discard its past and its heritage and the beautiful buildings that it has.
Emma met Leopold Adler II at a Christmas party and was immediately smitten. Lee and Emma were married September 12, 1953, and settled into a home in Ardsley Park. They had 2 children and were married for more than 50 years.
You could see when she'd tell stories, or like he would do these things, the driving erratically in Europe and getting in an accident and all these things. Lee, I told you not to do that. But you could tell life with Lee was an adventure, and she loved that adventure.
I've known the Adlers all my life. I grew up in the 400 block of East 44th. They were in the 400 block of East 45th. And typical suburban parents like we had, their sons, Lee and John, were a little younger than me. But I always knew Emma because if there was a stray dog in the neighborhood, Mother would call little Emma, and Emma would take on the cause to befriend the dog, put it in its right place.
I think dogs, were definitely a big part of Emma's life too, and that's definitely something that she's passed down to us, and it was always about, taking in one and showing it love no matter what it looked like. Didn't have to be a special breed. All dogs and people should be loved.
We knew that they were involved in important things in Savannah, and they always, and especially Emma, shared her love. But we grew up knowing and feeling how special it was. Everybody grows up in these towns and they can't wait to get out and leave. That concept to me was completely mind-blowing, because I was like, why would you not want to go back home where you grew up? But I realized later that we grew up in such a special place.
Being able to look back into the past is the way that you can gauge things and set a direction for the future. And that was something that I've always thought is important.
It's not just for the privileged, it's for the better of the entire community. It doesn't matter who you are, it's for everyone.
Emma felt connected to Savannah's National Historic Landmark District and worked for its preservation and the integrity of its urban design. The Adlers purchased an 1850s home in an era when gentrification had not yet made downtown Savannah a desirable place to live. Aligning their home with their preservation ethic, they set in motion the revival of the neighborhood they would occupy for the rest of their lives.
When we were growing up, not that many of our friends' families lived downtown or had grandparents that lived downtown, so it felt special coming into this house and knowing what they did to restore it and hearing the stories about it, how it was 6 apartments originally, and my grandfather bought it without telling my grandmother.
What has happened to the Adlers? What has happened is they took on a lifetime project. They were not scared about coming down here. Other young couples had invested in the downtown, and it was slowly coming around the squares and then moving out from there. The Adlers were making a difference. They were meeting people. They were talking up Savannah. They drunk heavily into historic preservation, leadership for historic Savannah, and they were a very unique couple together. They were truly a yin and yang. Lee was the passionate one. He wasn't scared to make people think or make them jump back or say something outrageous. And Emma was the calm one. But together, that dynamic group was fascinating and did so much. Emma embraced his causes and followed through on everything, but she had her own. And of course, the most important in her time was Massey School.
In the neighborhood adjacent to her home stood the old Massey School, an 1850s institution where both Emma's and Lee's fathers had studied. Dilapidated by the 1970s, the school stood abandoned until Emma Adler cooperated with the public schools to restore Massey into a teaching museum.
When she learned that the Massey School, which was Savannah's oldest public school, she learned it was closing. So Emma mobilized many of her friends and admirers and helped to draw up plans to repurpose it. The Massey Heritage Center became her pride and joy, and it's still one of the most popular historic sites in Savannah, thanks to her.
Emma loved Massey School because, well, for a lot of reasons. One is that there was definitely a family heritage. I think even more importantly than that, Emma shared with Lee this wonderful passion and ethic for historic preservation. And when she saw an important public building, 3 of them, in fact, that were being kind of marginalized and sidelined, and she could envision a use and a purpose, there was also such a passion on her part and a love for this city. Its urban plan, which she carried around with her as a calling card everywhere she went in the world.
The Massey Heritage Center was her brainchild. It had been one of the first public schools in the state of Georgia, but she had the idea of turning it into an educational center for children, to teach children about the city plan, to teach them about the power of historic preservation, the power of community. And it's still thriving. It definitely, is a cultural fixture in this town now, and that's all thanks to Emma.
As the founder of the Friends of Massey and the Friends of Ossabaw Island, Emma Adler introduced countless people to the work of these institutions and secured funding for the continuation of their missions.
So if she was the cheerleader for Savannah, she was the cheerleader for Georgia as well. She embraced preservation in all corners of this state with hers and Lee's involvement in the Georgia Trust for Historic Preservation. And they both represented Savannah and all of Georgia so ably and so skillfully to the rest of the nation and really to a great deal of the world.
And Emma was definitely the bookkeeper, organizer, behind the scenes, mastermind of a lot of the projects that the Adlers and Historic Savannah Foundation and that Massey undertook, and the financier of a lot of it. She was a person of great privilege, very wealthy family. Her family actually had owned Ossabaw Island for almost 100 years, and they've stayed very involved with Ossabaw Island. That's a special role, somebody who is willing to let somebody else take the credit for their achievements.
We live in a beautiful place, and she was so proud of it. Every time she'd come back from a trip, she'd say just how beautiful the city is. It stands up to any other city in the world.
There's no other city like it, and its design and architecture and community.
Emma and Lee traveled to more than 80 countries, keeping meticulous notes on their many destinations and publishing those notes in a book entitled Camel for Lunch. Upon returning from any of the world's great cities, she would declare, "Savannah stands up."
Every time Emma would come home from some distant location where she and Lee had visited, I could almost say the words with her. She would say, "Savannah stands up." I loved that phrase on her part. In 3 words, she was giving homage to her home city and putting it on the world stage.
Emma tagged me to help out with creating something we called Adopt-A-House. I would take my high school students with the support of Historic Savannah. We would find an endangered building, clean it out, advertise it, study its history, promote it that way to help find that buyer who would do something with it. And Emma, of course, was a big supporter of the Georgia Humanities Council. So she got us all to be nominated for awards for the school kids, and we went up to Atlanta and had great times talking about the poetry we wrote about the house and the songs and the history we had found.
Emma Adler fostered Georgia Day, an annual celebration of Georgia's founding. Under her leadership, Georgia Day became Georgia Week, which grew into the Georgia Heritage Celebration.
Celebrating the founding of the Georgia colony was such an important time of year for her. I would pick her up and we would go to a dozen schools in February every year, and she would walk out and address hundreds, if not thousands, of children, telling them how important it was to know their city's history, to know their state's history. If there was an American flag to point to, she would ask them how many stripes were on that flag, and most kids would know that the answer was 13, and she would say, those are for the 13 colonies, and one of those stripes is for Georgia. So she said, you need to be proud of that. You need to know that.
And Emma was civic-minded. If you had a copy of the Savannah Morning News, maybe every other month there'd be an Emma Adler letter to the editor. Very insightful, very thoughtful, very polite, but she'd let people know what she thought on some issue. And sometimes she'd call me and say, now, Hugh, I want you to write them too on the subject. Wait 2 days, because it'll have more impact. We don't want it on the same page with mine. We want to remind them of this issue.
One of her favorite things was writing letters to the paper about ongoing events in the community and making sure that, you know, her argument and viewpoint was heard. Never be afraid to speak your mind and put it out there into the world.
Today, Emma Adler's work continues in the form of the Georgia History Festival, with its annual focus on Georgia history and educational experiences for students in Savannah and throughout Georgia.
I think keeping the movement going, learning what they do, you've got to use political pressure, you've got to use the polite pressure, you've got to get in the public eye and do something about it. It's the advocacy that they promoted that is so important to maintain.
It's a rare person who was born to all of that privilege, who was willing to do the hard work and let other people get credit for it. And that's a great quality because it encourages other people to do things.
That was wonderful, wasn't it? I loved it. I'd like to ask the family and friends and guests of Emma Adler to please stand. Let us recognize you. Thank you. Now I'd like to ask her grandchildren, Margaret Lawrence Adler Logan and Leopold Adler IV, to please come forward.
Oops. I don't think it comes down that far. I'm Nancy Anderson, one of the founding members of this committee, and I'm in this organization, and it gives me particular pleasure today to introduce the next Georgia Woman of Achievement. Particular because, unlike many of the other women we've honored, I was personally acquainted with Beverly. 44 years ago, she took me under her wing. I was a fledgling museum director who knew very little about art or the art world. She was an increasingly consequential artist who knew lots of people in the art world and nuts about art. I learned so much from her. And in the process, I became just very fond of her, and this is why. She had a very self-effacing sense of humor. She was zany. She was loads of fun to work with. But despite that light touch, she was guided by a powerful drive to pursue her calling, which was art. She didn't mess around. She would often refer to herself, not inaptly, as a little Doric column. She was short and stocky. She did sort of look like a Doric column. But she was an amazing woman, and that diffidence that she had masked a very powerful drive to pursue her calling, which, amazingly, she was in Macon for a very short time, but she had a large impact while she was here, and it's no surprise that she became as successful as she was. Now, we'll hear more about Beverly.
Beverly Buchanan was born in North Carolina, grew up in South Carolina with her great aunt and uncle, found herself studying medical technology at Bennett College, and earned 2 master's degrees from Columbia University by 1969. She was accepted to medical school, but chose to go in a different direction.
She starts off in her art journey in 71, stays in New York until 77, and then moves to Macon. And so when we think about the Macon period, we think about mainly the site-specific works, ruins and rituals, Marsh ruins, Unity stones.
She studied with Norman Lewis, Romare Bearden. These were leading artists of the abstract expressionist movement and clearly had great influence on her. By the late 70s, she'd moved to Georgia and was extremely productive in Georgia. While she's not a native Georgian, she is certainly ours to claim.
During her 25 years in Georgia, Beverly produced landmark bodies of work, including concrete and mixed media sculptures, painting, wood structures, and photography. Throughout her career, she focused on ideas of personal and historical memory, portraiture, and spectrums of visibility and invisibility.
She was really doing so much of the most important work in Macon and Athens and Atlanta. Obviously, so much of her work was based on the heritage that was right here in Georgia. It's not that she was here making just high concept work that had nothing to do with Georgia. She was literally depicting Georgians. In that sense, she really made a contribution to the cultural history of this state. And it's just nice to see how beloved she was.
What makes Beverly, I think, so different from other artists, from the South is that, in my mind, she really has to come back to the South to become an artist. Though she had built an extensive circle of influential friends, and she already knew dealers also, and artists like Norman Lewis, who was a mentor for her, she really has to come back to the South and to Georgia in particular to find her voice.
Although academically trained, Beverly used the tools often associated with the self-taught artist, such as found objects and vibrant colors, to create the rich textures of these humble yet complex environments. Living in the South for most of her career, Beverly took inspiration from the natural landscapes that surrounded her.
She was academically trained, so she doesn't fall into the traditional definition of a folk artist or an outside artist. She was exploring ideas that were not simple, they were very complex, and that's why they continue to have meaning with a greater audience.
Beverly's work strengthens Georgia's cultural assets and includes 3 of the 7 recognized environmental sculpture installations: Ruins and Rituals, located on the grounds of the Museum of Arts and Sciences; Unity Stones at the Booker T. Washington Center in Macon; and Marsh Ruins in Brunswick. These installations have received international attention and been studied by art historians. Intended to wither away, these works contemplate the idea of ruination and commemorate the history of Southern Black communities.
Her work exploring the American South captures a time, a place that is timeless. It still is drawing attention and drawing people physically to the state to see her work and to study her work.
They were taking down these huge lampposts, and the bases of them were great big concrete supports. And they saw these things and the workmen digging them out of the ground, and that was the beginning of Ruins and Rituals. And those great big pieces of concrete were transported out to the museum, and a lot of her supporters helped with paying the cost of that. And she created like an ancient sacred site where there was maybe a sacrificial stone where offerings were made to the gods. That was the idea. And of course, with time getting covered with moss and lichen and natural aging, it's what she envisioned.
By the mid-1980s, Beverly began exploring Southern architecture through her well-known Shack series, in which she paid tribute to the self-built homes of Black communities in rural Georgia. Often attached to her Shack sculptures were handwritten narratives that gave voices to a cast of characters. These small tabletop wood structures are captivating works made from humble materials about people and labor in the American South.
I was with her several times, and we'd go by and we'd see a shack or a shotgun house, and so as we call them. She'd be taking pictures, and if there was anybody there, she'd meet them and talk to them and get their whole life story.
The body of work that I first saw of Beverly's being the shacks, those are so tactile, and she didn't treat them preciously. A piece of wood fell off, I just glue it back. These shacks really embody the spirit of the people who she met that lived in them. She would write about them. She called them legends. The more personal something is, the more universal it is. I just really connected in a visceral way with those shacks.
She knew her art was good, and she thought that someday I'll be recognized. Before she passed away, she was recognized, and now she's getting more and more recognized, which is very gratifying to me, and I think Beverly is looking down and beaming with that big old smile of hers.
As an artist, I'm sure that she had something in mind for every piece of work she did. I never once heard her go into exactly what it was she was trying to accomplish. You were supposed to get whatever you wanted out of it, and I think that was her philosophy.
She was just fun to be around. She went to see a house that Jim and Jaime were thinking about buying. And I went because I was architect/interior design. I wanted to see the house. And she showed up in her Volkswagen convertible. Well, I took the picture. So I get credit for that picture. She cut up. I mean, she told funny things to you, a very dry wit, and she was going to get a chuckle out of you.
The gravity of Beverly's artwork is widely recognized by private collectors and public institutions. Since her death, her work has been folded into a broader discourse about outsider art and resistance politics, with posthumous exhibitions at the Brooklyn Museum, Spelman College Museum of Art, and Studio Museum in Harlem.
When she was showing in galleries in whether the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it was a whole different ballgame for women artists, you know. The chips were always stacked against her. That's one of the reasons she's getting more recognition. Those doors have been really knocked down. I'm not saying completely, but they've certainly been banged on very hard.
There were people who really liked her work, and there were people who collected it. There were a good number of people who bought her work, and she gave a lot of it away. Beverly often didn't have any money. When she did, she was very generous with her friends, and particularly her plants and her animals. So she would take care of them first, of course. But when she needed money, or she needed services like the vet, her veterinarian at the time ended up with several of her pieces, and her accountant at the time ended up with several of her pieces.
If she got a grant or came into money, she spent it, while the rest of us were worried about acquiring money and growing old with money and living a comfortable retirement type of thing. She never had that concern. She lived to create her craft, and she didn't really worry about the day-to-day things.
We are very devoted to her work, the memories that they inspire, in addition to the emotions that she meant for us to have when we looked at the works. We love them.
Throughout her career, Beverly created insightful work that was intimately linked to her natural surroundings and folk art. She once wrote, "A lot of my pieces have the word ruins in their titles because I think that tells you this object has been through a lot and survived. That's the idea behind the sculptures. It's like, here I am, I'm still here."
From everybody we've spoken to, they're like, Beverly knew that her art would live on, and she knew that she would be in MoMA's collection and shown at the Met and soon to be in Paris
Harris. 2026 will be an important year for Beverly, inducted into the Georgia Women of Achievement Hall of Fame, and a major monograph of her work will be published this year. Her work is getting a lot of recognition across the world, but her work has been appreciated all along, and then after her death, it just has continued to grow and expand and reach new audiences.
Will the friends and family of Beverly stand up, please, to be recognized? We'd like to recognize you. Friends of Beverly. And the nominator come forward, please.
Good morning. I'm Stella Williams Bailey, and today I have the honor and the privilege of introducing the video of Mary Ethel Creswell, the first woman to graduate from the University of Georgia. And yes, and the first dean of the UGA College of Family and Consumer Science, then known as the School of Home Economics. When my mother, and my sister Nancy is here today, when our mother was a student, as a home economics student, Mary Creswell was her dean. And I like to think that they knew one another. Later, when I became a freshman, another FACS graduate of UGA, I had the honor of being elected president of North Creswell, which was the dormitory, brand new then, named for this first woman graduate of UGA. Mary Creswell had many accomplishments in her life, and today we will see them in the film. She not only was a woman trailblazer at the University of Georgia, but she also made history all over the state of Georgia. Please watch with me as we look at the story of her life.
Mary Creswell is very important to the University of Georgia. As our first woman who graduated with a baccalaureate degree from the University of Georgia, she really paved the way for future generations of students, just like me as a proud alum of the University of Georgia, a magnificent woman who changed the lives of so many students and Georgians.
Mary Ethel Creswell was born October 15, 1879 in Pennsylvania to Alexander and Helena Creswell. Her father was a physician, and in 1893 the family relocated to Walton County, Georgia. The move to the South marked a transition during her formative years, exposing Mary to Georgia's education and community environments that would influence her life. Mary graduated from the State Normal School in Athens in 1902. Following her graduation, she joined the faculty as a teacher at the Muskogee Training School, serving from 1902 until 1911. She supervised student teachers and developed the school's curriculum, focusing on home economics.
I do an introductory lecture in class that all students have to take in the college, and in that role, I always talk about the history of the college. So, of course, Mary Creswell comes up quite a bit. Her role in the history of our field that has gone by many different names, probably started started being called domestic science.
In 1913, Mary became the first woman employed by the Federal Extension Office in Washington, D.C., a role she secured before completing her undergraduate degree. In this role, she supervised agents across 15 states and was the first to suggest the name home demonstration for programs aimed at delivering nutrition and household education to rural women and girls.
And then home economics, and then human sciences, which many colleges are currently called. The history of that field is a history of women who were path breakers, like Mary Creswell, who saw the importance of applying science to everyday life. And that's really what she did, and that's really why she sought higher education, to improve everyday life in the way that people, living citizens, could improve themselves.
Before 1918, women had limited access to graduate studies. But that year, undergraduate admission was approved by the board, allowing 12 older women to enter the newly created Division of Home Economics. As a mature student nearing 40, Mary Creswell completed her bachelor's degree in 1918 and was appointed the head of the newly created Division of Home Economics for the university.
She achieved tremendous success in her career as an educator, as the first president of the Georgia Home Economics Association, and as the dean of the College of Home Economics here at the University of Georgia.
In 1933, the university established the College of Family and Consumer Sciences, and Creswell was named the first dean and served in that position until her retirement in 1945.
The college now includes 4 departments, 1 institute, and more than 20 research centers and laboratories that touch lives across Georgia and beyond. From nutrition and financial well-being to child development and community resilience, the work of this college reflects the very best of our land-grant mission.
We really owe such a debt to her for being the first dean of this college. She stayed in that role quite a long time too and had a major impact on students here, but also just on life at the University of Georgia, being that kind of pioneer and path breaker.
You see across our campus, we have the Creswell Society within the College of Family and Consumer Sciences. That is a recognition society for alumni and friends who give back at a leadership annual giving level. Those dollars help support innovation, student success, scholarships. I think she would be thrilled to note that her name is a part of such a tremendous recognition for alumni who are giving back just like she did.
During her time working at the college, Mary Creswell provided mentorship to younger faculty and students, drawing on her experience to focus on practical applications of home economics in everyday life.
That's the history of that field, and many women at that time period were engaged in that field, trying to make sure that homes were sanitary, that people weren't getting sick, communicable diseases, but also diseases related to the kitchen and sanitation. And then, of course, that field expanded in many different ways. So she was really important in setting the groundwork for people to be able to accomplish those things and thrive.
Mary Creswell's legacy continues to inspire our commitment to educating future leaders, advancing groundbreaking research, and strengthening communities in every corner of our state.
After her retirement, Mary Creswell was retained as a professor and continued teaching classes through 1949.
I think she would be proud that at our core, we still focus on our land-grant mission of teaching students, making new discoveries that will impact our world, and then serving the state of Georgia. I mean, that is our mission. Even with all the growth of the university, that is still at our core what we do best. And I think she would be proud to know that we are still serving the state and educating students and finding new ways to make our world better.
Mary Creswell died in Athens, Georgia on August 7, 1960. Creswell Hall, a dormitory that houses nearly 1,000 students, is named in her honor.
Mary Creswell is legendary around these parts, but also across the state. And if you think about it, her impact is also really important across the nation. You really can't be here in Dawson Hall at the University of Georgia without seeing her imprint and her influence.
As we look to the future and plan the renovation of Creswell Hall, we do so with deep pride in the foundation Mary Creswell built and with confidence that her influence will guide generations to come.
I would like to ask all the alumni, family, and friends of Mary Ethel Creswell to stand and be recognized. We have a big group. And now I would like to ask our current dean, Dean Anissa Zonvakovic, and our senior development person, Suzanne Griffith, to come forward and receive the charger. And now I would like to ask Cindy Busby to come and give the video introduction for our final inductee today.
Today, we're going to introduce our final inductee, Adelaide Wallace Ponder. She is here on behalf of the Madison Morgan Cultural Center, and I know we have many representatives here from Madison, Morgan counties. And if you will please join me in learning more about Ms. Ponder.
Adelaide Wallace's love of journalism began early in her life. Born in Madison, Georgia in 1925, Adelaide served as editor-in-chief of her high school and college newspapers, graduated from Wesleyan with honors in 1946, and briefly worked as a copywriter in Atlanta. Adelaide returned to Madison and married fellow Madison High graduate Graham Ponder in 1948.
Her parents were Leonard Dewey Wallace and Ann Douglas Wallace. They had 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys, and Mother was the oldest and the tiniest of the bunch, and I think the most dynamic of the bunch. They're all gone, so they can't get mad at me for saying that, but she was just always incredible. She went to Wesleyan College and majored in journalism. She loved that college to the day she died.
Little did I realize until I left Madison how distinctive Madison was, number one, but also the importance of figures like Adelaide and Graham. And it's hard for me to separate the two because they were always together and supportive of each other's passions.
Adelaide and Graham started a family, and while raising her 4 children, Adelaide stepped away from journalism. In 1957, she heard the Madisonian was for sale and convinced her husband that they should buy it. Circulation of the Madisonian was just 1,500, and finances were tight.
When Roy and I married, Adelaide and Graham had 3 children, and then later they had a 4th child when our first child was born. So her first son and my first daughter grew up being very good friends and still are. And she managed to do a lot in the community, even with all of that going on. And then she took on the newspaper.
You know, not a trained journalist like she'd been to Columbia or the Grady School at UGA or something. She came to journalism through a love of journalism. Her last name gave just a perfect name to a regular column, which was called Ponderings.
Locals doubted the new owners, but Adelaide proved unstoppable, writing, editing, composing, and laying out the paper. Years later, she recalled, everybody predicted we'd last about a year, but we managed to hang on. It was hard for the public to accept a woman editor, but I was around all the time, and they finally accepted me.
She was an educated woman. She didn't fit the normal mold at the time. She was somebody that we all aspired to be because we didn't know how to be a woman like that. And she was a force, and she was this tiny little woman, but she was always perfectly dressed. She was well-read, she was well-educated, that she understood that culture in a small town only elevates the town.
One of the things when I was reading old newspaper articles about her, she wrote in August of 1957, right after they took over the paper, "We are here to stay. We are rooted in this community and feel that we are in a position to know it and its problems." But the phrase that I really love is this: being human, we know that we cannot please all the people all the time. Our aim is to please most of the people most of the time.
When I was growing up, this building had several different uses. When I was little, it was the public library. A few people, Adelaide being one of them, they decided to make it a regional cultural arts center that brought culture into rural Georgia. And it totally created the framework of my love for arts and culture that I have today. And I can remember 50 years ago being in the auditorium when they opened the cultural center.
Adelaide Ponder was one of the key founders of the Madison Morgan Cultural Center in the mid-1970s, serving the organization in numerous capacities for over 20 years.
I give Adelaide all the credit for that. She was the one who had the vision. I was just tagging along. She felt that Madison deserved a performance stage and a place for art things to come in. And it opened in 1976 after us spending about 3 years together every day, raising money and trying to pull it all together.
You think rural Georgia, no, that's not really where I want to be. But Madison is unique and knows it's unique without being really showy about it. Adelaide, in a way, kind of epitomized that. She was proud of her hometown, knew it, loved it, and was able to promote it.
Starting off, we had a very low budget. We'd spent all the money getting the building ready, and so some grants had to come in to fund. We had a lot of talent in the community who knew how to pull together some acts. She was a good thinker and a good planner, and she had a lot of contacts.
I was fortunate to come to Madison and get involved with the Cultural Center at a time when there were just really great leaders here at the center. They all inspired us to follow in their footsteps.
There are very few people I've known in my lifetime who could exert that kind of influence in a very quiet way. Usually it will be someone who's more aggressive will turn you off. That's why she and Chris were such a good pair. There's not anything in my mind that's really good about Madison and Morgan County that she didn't have a hand in.
When the Ponders acquired the Madisonian in 1957, it was 3 years after Brown versus Board of Education. Editorially, the newspaper took what Adelaide later described as a very moderate stand. Many tributes have credited the Madisonian's approach with helping integration to go more smoothly in Morgan County than it did in other Georgia counties.
She never, that I found in her writings, never a ringing endorsement of integration is the right thing to do, but ringing endorsements of following the law of the land and being respectful and peaceful and making this thing work. She said that over and over.
For women in the South who were taught to be quiet, to not ruffle any feathers, to mind your business, she didn't do that. She would challenge the norm. I mean, that's just who she was. She fought the good fight always.
But Adelaide and Graham, they took the position and she wrote about it. You may not like this, but this is now the law, and we're going to follow the law. We're going to continue to have good relations in Madison and Morgan County between the races. She wasn't heavy about it, but she was setting an example example.
During that period, the only time that blacks were in the newspaper were probably when they did an offense. So I went to her office one morning, asked if I could have a conversation with her. She said, yes, you can. And I said, Ms. Ponder, I said, when I get the Madisonian, it's mostly white articles, and I would like to change that. She said, that's an excellent idea. What are you going to write about? For Ms. Ponder to embrace it during that period of time gave me the opportunity to know that she was truly a journalist.
Adelaide Ponder served as editor of the Madisonian for 40 years, leaving a lasting mark on Georgia journalism. From 1957 to 1996, her leadership shaped the state's editorial sphere as she overcame gender barriers, and her contributions elevated standards within the profession.
Her time at the newspaper put her on the map here, if not before. I mean, she had grown up here and had been involved in a lot of things, but the years that they operated the newspaper, everybody knew who she was.
If I had to sum up Adelaide in one word, it would be equanimity. Yes, which is a word she would appreciate, but most people would not ever use. Just meaning basically she was calm. She was short in stature, but big in spirit. She knew where she fit in and how she could do good.
And she wanted people to feel good about themselves. I don't think she looked at black or white. She looked at the individual because she knew that you could be whatever you wanted to be.
Working to preserve and revitalize downtown Madison, Adelaide was a fundraising spark plug. Efforts that she championed, such as the construction of Madison's town park, have inspired other towns in their development of historic tourism.
Our city completely revamped a very worn-down part of downtown and turned it into a gorgeous park and pavilion and statues and greenery and benches. It's wonderful, but Adelaide and Chris did that.
Always people were coming to Madison when it was springtime, and she was driving them or walking them around, and someone said, Miss Ponder, is Madison always this pretty? And she sort of paused and said, sometimes it's prettier. Which is about as close to being prideful, I think, as she would ever be.
In 1996, the Ponders sold the Madisonian. Adelaide and Graham remained leaders in Madison for another decade before moving to St. Simon's Island. Graham passed away in 2013. Adelaide followed in 2015 at age 90.
Well, I believe that what Mother did will go on. I'm thankful that we are honoring her. I just think it's important to remember people who have done these things. And I'm so thankful that she's being honored.
She should receive this honor because of what she believed in. She believed in doing the right thing. And no doubt, she wasn't thinking about her legacy. She was thinking about making a difference during that period of time. It's a much better place because of Mrs. Ponder.
Would the family and friends and supporters of Adelaide Wallace Ponder please stand and let us recognize you. We would like to ask Chris Hodges to come forward to accept the charger on behalf of Ms. Ponder.
Phenomenal, 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 phenomenal. Every one of this year's inductees, phenomenal women. Let's hear it for all of our inductees again. How awesome. On behalf of the Georgia Women of Achievement, I thank you for taking time to join us as we inducted these leading ladies, phenomenal leading ladies, into the Hall of Fame. It is our hope that we achieved one of our goals today by inspiring each of you to learn more and share these powerful stories. We invite you to join in our mission. Our dream is that the legacy of trailblazers recognized by Georgia Women of Achievement continue to make a difference because of the stories we continue to share. Now, these stories, our website, the amazing video library documenting Georgia's women pioneers would not be possible without your ongoing support. We invite you to find a way that you can be involved in our mission. 34 years of celebrating now well over 100 women. And there are many other stories that we want to tell. We have much work to do, but we are ready and we are empowered. We will end with a quote from Sheryl Sandberg, who reminds us to continue to move forward with purpose to create a future where there are no women leaders. Instead, let's create a future where there will just be leaders. Now, let's all go lead, as Mrs. Carter would want us to, by caring about other people and making this world a much better place. I now invite Dr. Adrienne Epps to the stage to give the benediction and some other instructions that we need to hear. And I would also like for Tina Calhoun to stand. Would you please? Another phenomenal job with those videos. Thank you so much. Wonderful storytelling. We want to thank you for the outstanding job you provided on the videos of each of these trailblazing ladies we honored today, and we just say thank you. And you do this year after year after year. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Dr. Epps.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I know I'm standing between you and the food, but it's okay. It's a beautiful day. Let's give Carla another round of applause for her a very successful first year ceremony. I have 3 assignments. Say 3. 3 assignments. The first, we would like to do pictures with the entire family and friends of each honoree. As I dismiss everyone, we would like for those of you who are here representing the inductees today to please gather to my left, and we'll call you up in groups in an orderly fashion, and we're going to move you quickly so that you can proceed on over to lunch. Agreed? Agreed. Secondly, you heard Carla say, and this board of trustees and the board of selections, we're all volunteers. And this is important work, it's important history. And we want to encourage you to be a part of helping us celebrate another 34 years. So if your heart is moved, if you're with an organization who has the resources to support this group, so we can continue to honor and celebrate the great and phenomenal women who change our society every day. Within your program, there's a QR code, but also you can do it on the website. $5 makes a difference. $5,000 makes a bigger difference. And you can keep going from there. But we really do want and love the support that you may give us. Now, let's go before the God that we serve to bless the food today. Dear God, we gather today with grateful hearts, thankful for this moment to celebrate and have fellowship for the sacred work that we're gathered to do in your name. Across many faith traditions, we pause to acknowledge the shared calling to care for one another and to recognize individuals who have gone above and beyond for society. Today, during Women's History Month, we celebrated the dedicated women of our beloved state and nation who have impacted numerous communities. We thank you for their love for humanity as we celebrate their legacies, not just today, but every day. God, bless each and every household present here today and those who would have liked to be here but could not make it. Guide each of them to do what is right by all and love one another deeply. Bless the students and educators that are present today. May this experience be a positive impact on their lives and the journeys that you have uniquely designed for them. God, bless the food that we're about to partake in. May it nourish our minds, body, and soul, that we can continue to do a good work in your name and not that of our own. Bless those who have prepared and sponsored the food and this event. These prayer petitions and requests we lift up in your holy name. Amen. So those of you that are not participating in the pictures, please proceed out of the doors. You'll be directed to the dining hall. For those of you that need assistance, carts are available to help drive you along. And if everyone will stand, the family and friends that will take the pictures, please gather to my left. Board of Trustee members and Board of Selection members, would you gather to my right immediately, because we need to get a picture. You know, we're a history organization. We like to document stuff. So if you'll gather as well. Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful day and enjoy the luncheon.
Board members, if you will please come so that we can take our picture. Board members, please come over here so that we can take our picture. Board of Selections as well, please come right here.
Past presidents, please come up as well. So Board of Selections, current board of Trustees, and past board members, please come up now. You want people down here?
It's the board and the previous. Let's bring them.
Okay, everyone, the photographer. Yeah, we're gonna do everybody at the same time. He wants you all to come down. Please step up, go onto the steps.
Yeah, I'm going to put you in front since you're the current. And let's.
Here she comes. Yep, there we go. All right, follow the photographer's directions. Past presidents, please step up as well. Yeah, we're going to.
One big happy family.
Get it done. You want them to step forward?
Liga.
All right, can we have the Ponder family come up, please? The Ponder family, please begin moving. Family and friends who are here. Please gather around the floral arrangement and on the steps. Yep. Follow. Ponder.
Sorry. That's okay. Well, it's going to take a while to get us all up here.
Kind of shocking, isn't it? I'll stand behind the podium here.
I will too. Hello.
Stand on Franny's shoulders.
I know. You did a great job.
Thank you, thank you. Hey, Alla, good to see you. Hey, Kathy.
All right, let's
Oh. Can you?
There she is. Thank you, thank you. Well,
Oh, I'm right here. I'm right.
all right. One more. Wait, stop. One more. Turn around. One more.
All right, with the Cresswell family and friends, and the come to the stage. If the Ponder family could go ahead and proceed to lunch.
It's fun. It's great to be home at this time.
Yeah. The Cresswell.
Thank you. It was.
All right, Ponder family and friends, if you could move out of the way so we can do the next family, please. Ponder family, please proceed to lunch so we can do the next family. Cresswell, family and friends, please come forward. Ponder family, you're headed to lunch. Go out of the front door. Who has the placard for Cresswell?